Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. Episode 43, the Blue Elephant Art Center in Frederick, Maryland. In this episode, we're going to be doing some serious time traveling, and I'm going to get to explore a former alternative reality that I was once part of. I was once an artist, not so much these days. I have two incredibly special guests, two wonderful friends that I've known for since the 90s, so over 30 years. I'm going to ask each one of you ladies to please introduce yourself to our audience, and I think we're going to have a wonderful conversation today.
My name's Ananda. I've known Don for 30 years. I was introduced by one of the original Blue Elephants to the studio, and it was a life-changing thing. Best time of my life. My kids don't like to hear that, but before them, it was the best time of my life. It was a village, it was a scene, it was a movement, it was a moment, and Don was a really big part of that.
Ananda,
sure.
let me ask, how many children do you have?
3.
3? Wow.
I know.
How old are they?
I got an 18-year-old, a 15-year-old, and a 10-year-old. Didn't see that coming, did you?
No.
Seems.
Not at all. That's incredible.
It happens.
Yeah.
I'm Andrea. I have been a member of the art community in Frederick like forever. I currently am part of Noma Gallery, which is located inside the Blue Elephant building. So the continuity between the Blue Elephant and Noma is strong and has been for a number of years. And we can pick up on that. I also teach design and printmaking at Hood College, and just realized that I've been there 30 years. So it might be time for retirement soon.
Wow. Andrea, let's talk about right now. We're talking about the Blue Elephant Art Center. And so for people that don't know, it's located on West 5th Street, just off of Market. And that whole curb has become a real cornerstone for Frederick Arts, because you now have the Artist Gallery, Tag, which is across the street. I was an not original, but I was a member of Tag.
Me as well, yeah.
My show, Tierra de la Mar, my photo documentary, opened at the Artist Gallery in 1998 on the exact same day that we opened Blue Elephant. So I thought it was pretty amazing that those spaces have
coalesced right there.
Coalesced. So let's go ahead and bring up our first graphic, Nick, because this is the whole reason that we're doing this episode. We're going to get into reflecting, and I know everyone wants to, but let's stay with the topic. Historic Preservation Commission allows for the partial demolition of the Blue Elephant to move forward. There's been several articles in the Frederick News Post about what's going on with the Blue Elephant Art Center. We have the last one right there, if you want to just hold it up.
Right. Yeah.
Endangered blue elephants.
Yeah.
So from the source, Andrea, tell us what the state of affairs is as of, end of May of 2026.
Yeah, well, let me backtrack just for a
Please.
little second. What you have to remember is this part of town was kind of underdeveloped. So, of course, the artists go into spaces that they can afford and bring in the money and bring in the people. So we have kind of, in a way, added to the gentrification of this part of town.
Absolutely.
And NOMA stands for North on Market Street. And there is a section of Market Street that's sort of dead. And in order to get people up the street, we established this corner there, and then Tag moved in. So we now are in a position where we're going to lose this gorgeous space that we have really built. We've really built community there, and we've really established this as an art center. And now it is going to be turned into very posh, very unaffordable housing, if you want to even consider that, these condos. So that's sort of where we are. And in fact, later today, I am going to a meeting, a very important meeting at Noma Gallery, where we're going to be discussing like what's going to happen, because our lease, we've just found out that our lease is terminated in December. We were told we'd probably have 2 years, and they have speeded it up. So we're going to be ending Noma at December.
At the end of this year.
Yes, at the end of this calendar
So that
year.
displaces how many artists, how many members of
22 at least. And the thing about that location is we are a co-op, meaning that we run the business. So we open the space up, we do all of the financials, we do everything. And in order to do that, you kind of have to live within a certain radius. People aren't going to drive from DC to be a member of our
Right.
co-op. So we're rather local. And when we moved, if we move as a collective, it will be dependent on whether or not some of the people can even stay. So not only are we losing the space and losing some people, we might be losing additional people, because we have an artist from Baltimore. We have some artists coming from a bit farther west in the county. So, yeah.
Now, is this the same for Blue Elephant, which is located behind Noma?
Yes. Blue Elephant.
And they've been given to December, or are they expected to leave sooner?
They might have to leave sooner. I will find that out also today. I will say that the thing that the Blue Elephant has had a sort of renaissance. There was a period where from when Ananda and you were a member, part of the scene there, it kind of died down, and they have just really have revived it. And every Friday there's an open coffee scene that goes on, and whether you're a member or not, you come and hang out.
I'll say this, Ananda, that the shock in some of their faces when they came and they saw the audience that we had in 2018 at Area 31. Yeah. Now, since we're going back in time, I knew the space was doomed. I knew something was going to happen with Blue Elephant, because when I was trying to do the 20th anniversary, I got behind that and was like, man, it's been 20 years. And now we're talking almost 30 years. Let's do something that recognizes this institution that has existed for 20 years. Alice Moxley is, I believe, her name. I called her multiple times through almost a year period to ask for permission to just do something, and she never returned my call. Right. So that's how we ended up in Area 31, and I mean, it was packed. I mean, that was an amazing. I asked, we have a couple other things that we'll get to, but Ananda, when you reflect on that, what do you think it is that made that first group, what made it stick for so long?
It was a
Please.
perfect time. And you'll have to pull your ear when it's time to get me to stop talking, because
talk.
How they have that, you ask people, what could you talk about for 2 hours without notes?
Right. I
could do 24 hours about the Blue Elephant, because it's hard not to be reductive by saying it was an art community. It was a village. It was a community all of its own. And it pulled people into its orbit. And we still have those people. I'm working at the library now. I'm at the downtown library. And once a week, somebody comes in and we have to figure out. And it was just that village. We were all in this thing. And I think what made it so special was, Rona Mensa. Mm-hmm. Her mom, she was trying to describe us to her mom once. And her mom was like, oh, they're in the movement. And she was like, what does that mean? But it wasn't just... I compare it often to the beatniks, because I was obsessed with the beatnik culture and literature. And we didn't just make art. And I was the writer. I wasn't the artist. I was the writer. And I was kind of trying to document this beautiful scene that was happening every second. But working at the library, which is an amazing third space, and we know how important third spaces are. We need gathering spaces where you don't have to spend money. You can just be. The Blue Elephant was such a perfect third space. 16 stairs. We would hear the door open. You would count those 16 stairs, and you never knew who was going to show up
Right.
at the top.
Right.
And it could be for conversation. It could be to listen to the amazing mixtapes we had going.
Right.
It could be to just smoke and vibe and chill. But it was an absolute vibrant gathering place. It was a market square where ideas were
Yes.
exchanged, art was created. And then we went to our homes and took that art with us. I don't know if you remember the conversational salons we used to have. I had one at my house on Ben Street.
Mm-hmm.
You were really great at that. And we sent out 100 questions that you may or may not have to answer. And we had fondue. It was some kind of like a key party without the key element. And we had 300 people show up over that night that all were connected with the elephant. Cops showed up, and we were like, come in and ask some questions. We have some questions for you. And they stayed to answer questions like, what's your problem? And they stayed to answer. And it wound up, and that was like an extension of the Blue Elephant.
Right.
Everything we kind of did, making art at the watershed, finding art at Cunningham Falls, we embodied this energy, and it was very much a zeitgeist. Like we encapsulated that zeitgeist that was happening and then took it with us wherever we went. We had the common market crowd that was kind of, we intermingled with. And I know that from our gathering, people went out into the world and created lives that were based on that moment. I'm one of them, you know?
Let me share a little bit of a history of the building before it actually became the Blue Elephant. And the one thing, Andrea, I'm going to ask, like, to reflect on what Frederick, what Fifth Street was like. I mean, damn, there was John Hanson public housing right there.
Yeah.
Shooting,
It
crack
was-
central, prostitutes. It was one of the roughest sections of Frederick City, like, period. I mean, when we opened in 98. But before that, it was a condemned building. They had tried to turn it into a pawn shop. I shot a student film there, a UMBC student film.
I
there.
remember that.
I had a dancer was in it. It was a punk space for a little
Yeah.
bit that they called the attic, and then Becky got it. But to explain to people, you know, in a time machine, what was Frederick, Maryland like in
my God.
yeah.
I live on Trail Avenue, which is not too far from the Blue Elephant, and I moved there in '89, and I was Rebecca of Sunnybrook Farm. I saw the porches. I said, "Oh, this is going to be a safe space." The first week, I found 2 guns.
Yeah.
You know, so it was rough.
Yes.
And I remember coming to the Blue Elephant before it really had transitioned and the renovations had been made, and Becky she was there, but not yet. She owned it, but I think none of the space had been really done. And I remember you inviting me up to see that film, and I think my recollection is going up through a floor, like a hole in the floor, maybe to what was like an attic kind of space, and seeing films up there. You were showing films in this very...
That might be where Paul Tooley's studio is now, but
Yeah.
back then, because I actually used it as a bedroom. Nature and I stayed there for a while. Like,
and, right.
yeah, it was
Yeah.
super primitive living.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean,
And
it was just a big old warehouse.
It was a big old...
awesome.
Well, it was an old bakery.
Yeah.
You know? So I'm rather shocked that the city of Frederick did not consider it
sure.
A space that needed to be saved.
For sure.
And I guess, like, what you're expressing in our conversation earlier is, like, one of your concerns is, you know, so if that space closes and, you know, then that pushes, you know, where are the artists going to go? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
people can't afford to live downtown.
Right.
So where are we going to go?
Right.
And, you know, it's, you know, we bring in so much of the je ne sais quoi to the scene in Frederick, to the...
I mean, it is the thing. Art and music
Yes.
is the thing that makes the city look cool, and then the cool people making the art get pushed out.
Look at Lester Bowie,
Yeah,
you know, and that
it's no
whole,
good.
like the music, and you know, Scott Ambush, and,
Yeah.
you know, there's going to be a big gap because we don't have industrial spaces. It's not like
Right.
Baltimore. We don't have warehouses. We don't have those spaces that we can inhabit in, So we don't know. Like, should the city, pony up some tax money and establish a...
It's why people come. It brings
Right.
visitors in. People people come to visit from Canada, and they're
here's-
like, look at this art space in this town.
Here's the reality for me on why I have a couple of things I thought that made Blue Elephant successful. And, an important thing for me back then as an artist, and it's so hard, it's so strange to talk about being an artist because it's like a past life, but I didn't want to be controlled, right? So I knew if if I'm at the Delaplane, I'm going to be
Right.
I'm going to be censored. I can't
Right.
show a nude. I can't do this. I can't do that. But in artist-controlled space, we pay the rent. It's ours.
It's
like
ours.
it's our rules,
Right.
And push
right?
all the boundaries.
Yes.
Up, down,
Yes.
Right.
sideways.
And
we did
we're
what we wanted.
Artist
for sure.
controlled. I mean, that was the
Beautiful.
single most important thing with
beautiful.
the Blue
and
Elephant.
youth. And we're...
And a range of ages, though, because we had
Range.
Winnie was a
Yes.
baby.
Yes.
Yes.
And
Yes.
then we had a professor at
Yes.
Shepherdstown. Like
Right.
we had, and the
Yes.
people we brought in, such a
Exactly. Right.
range. Everybody showed up.
Exactly.
Yes,
It's beautiful.
A very diverse, very diverse group. Let's go through the next two things that we wanted to promote, and then we'll look at a group picture. Andrea, you asked us to put this up, so please tell our audience about this event that you're involved with.
Well, the Frederick Arts Council wanted to have a lead-in to the art festival that happens on the creek every year. It's been going on for hundreds of years. I don't know, a long time. And so what what they're doing is asking artists. They've chosen artists to put work into a live auction. Mm-hmm. And they're trying to generate capital from that event. And it's going to be at Seventh Sister, which was Vault. And there's going to be a cocktail party and some sort of splashy event.
Nice.
And I got it chosen. And what I asked for was control. So, because a lot of times when you give your pieces to an auction, a live auction, lots of times people want to pay what the lowest price. And I said, artists need to advocate for their bottom line and what what they want to bring. They want to, if you're going to give your work, you want it to bring in the capital that will help that art organization. So we had a discussion, and it worked out for both of us, the organization that I belong to, Frederick Arts Council, and as a member, so that's happening, and I'm excited about that.
I'll share this. I haven't been to a fancy art opening in a very long time, but I remember I was part of a show in Washington, D.C. for emerging photographers, and I went and I brought like a case of Pabst Blue Ribbon, and they look at me and they start giving me shit, and I'm like, I would go, Pabst Blue Ribbon, Blue Velvet, David Lynch, like what the fuck is wrong with you? And I was like immediately cool, Yeah, fucking Pabst Blue Heineken, fuck that shit.
PBR was it, man. PBR, right?
So fancy art openings. Yeah, that's definitely
Yes,
talking about past life. And let's pull up. We got a fancy art opening. We would like to invite absolutely everybody to. Nick, will you pull up our next graphic? Brian Slagle, who is one of the original members, one of the original founders, his brother Kevin, and their cousin Jason Swafford were the three that did the renovation. He's part of an exhibition going on at Art Inspiration in Frederick with two other incredible Frederick artists, Steve Dobbin and Jeff Bolander. Steve Dobbin, I remember the show that we did at the Millennium Art Center in Washington, D.C. in 2001. He was part of that. He was reviewed in that. He has been a friend of Blue Elephant for its entire. So I've always thought he was a wonderful artist too, and I like Jeff too. I've always loved Bolander's work, and I think the world of his wife. I thought his wife is a wonderful artist. And it's funny, right? Like, I think to myself, like, why would people even listen to me talk about art? But I helped open some of the earliest art spaces on Market Street, and his wife, what's her name? I saw she just had surgery. Pauline. I can't remember. Anyway, she was part of the very opening show that we did at this gallery called Calvin and Diego.
Oh, right. Calvin and Diego.
Calvin and Diego. We were in Megaphone Music on Market Street, and the whole idea was like just, a little art gallery. And I always felt like it helped lead to Blue Elephant. And I helped Kevin Slagle, do his first art show, right? I had a space in the Castle building for the arts, and I met Kevin in a photography class that I had at Frederick Community College, and we became fast friends. And, I helped him put together his first exhibition, do all the framing, matting, all that kind of stuff. So I remember talking to him when he was just beginning to get the Blue Elephant opening. And so your reflections on how the space was actually designed, because the last time I was there, it didn't seem to have changed
It's an
much.
art museum.
Yeah.
The first time I walked in, I was with my husband who's died, but we walked up those steps, and it was like, it took us an hour to get upstairs. The stairs have art in them.
Yes.
The walls have art in them.
Yes.
It's just a museum that we held the most amazing. It was like the Algonquin Round Table in some ways. It was just the most amazing space. And the space itself created conversation. We had adventures. Like within the space, we had capers and adventures. And we would go out on the rooftop and make snowmen. And we started snowball fights. And we projected movies. We projected films. Remember we showed Beyond the Valley of the Dolls and all kinds of Bottle Rocket. Across on the street, we would show videos. The space itself was this living thing.
Yes.
Like I can hear the 16 steps in my dreams. It is a space that in and of itself contains such magic and potential and possibility. It was going to create good energy inside of it because of all the love. I don't know what's happening, but I have to get some pieces of that. Like the work that those boys did. I know you weren't involved. I just kind of walked up the stairs and settled into my new home. But the work done was so, and just even the putting up the shows and taking down the shows. Our blood and sweat is in that space, man. Just really quick story. You were mentioning Mike. One night, Mike fell asleep, as he was wont to do after a show. We'll say fell asleep. And we came up in the morning, and nobody had been there. We had fallen asleep, passed out somewhere, and there was this black circle. Do you remember this? There was this perfect black circle on the floor, and we were haunted. We were like, nobody came in. The door was locked. We couldn't figure it out for months. And a couple months later, another opening, kegger, and Mike falls asleep, and he always wore black motorcycle boots, and he falls asleep and starts walking in a circle on the floor, and it was the tar from his boots that had left this perfect circle on the floor. It was always an adventure, and art obviously was the thing that brought us together, but we just created this amazing. It was a scene, man.
I remember like the nights before our openings were
the
like
best.
these marathons of like
All
trying to get stuff done.
Minute before.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes while people were coming up, we were like, cut up a curtain and keep hanging.
Oh
yeah.
And
Brian's parents bringing the food. His mom would always bring the food.
It was so
that was
great.
the place to end the evening.
Mm-hmm.
You would go to
For
all
sure.
the art openings.
And then
because
wind up there.
the best music.
Yeah.
Like that was the place.
And conversation. And
you were going to end.
It's beautiful.
You were going to end the night. It was open doors till it wasn't.
And there were
we
certain people
done.
that we wouldn't see until 2. And we would always keep the doors open until 2. Jen Kuhn would pop by from her job at Hagen's Tavern. Rona would pop by. Like, people would come in late and then just stay for the conversation and last of the PBR and Mickey's.
I'm big into like the conspiracy theory that like we do the channels based on that. I'm big into the aliens, and I loved my Saturday nights at Blue Elephant AM radio, right?
Yeah.
Those were my studio nights, and I would listen to Frederick AM, right? 93 whatever, right? They did this Dreamland, and it was a bunch of different, George Norrie, and that was I loved going up there and listening. Art Bell was one. I just got back from Central America when I'm working on my first Blue Elephant stuff. The whole Heaven's Gate cult thing went down, right? And it all starts because they're listening to Art Bell, right? And he's talking about some, So, no, I loved those times at the Blue Elephant. Let's go ahead, Nick, and let's bring up the original group. This is a photograph that Winnie Cruz, who was an original member, her father, Dennis Cruz, did. Yes. This is pretty much the Dirty Dozen. Great to see.
We were babies.
Yeah.
Little babies.
Now, this is Becky Griffin right here in the corner in the white shirt with the smile. She's the one that owned the building and paid all the materials and for the renovation. She owned the building for the longest time. She's just turning 90, and we were talking about... Talk a little bit about the event that they're doing with Art Inspiration today. Nick, you can bring that down. We might ask to look at it again, but... let's talk a little bit about Becky, and then we'll go ahead and reflect on some of the original members.
Becky was and is like the most inspiring person in Frederick to take a risk like that and buy that building and renovate it. So today at Art Inspiration in Frederick, which is right behind the Common Market. They are having a tribute to Becky, and there will be different artists there speaking on and honoring her, and there'll be a little reception. Do you know the times?
I'm not sure.
I'm not positive either.
It's later on this afternoon.
3 o'clock, maybe.
Yeah, and everybody, she's such an important person. It would be lovely if the town would support a sculpture, because we have a wonderful
we call
sculptor.
her Mama Beck,
Yeah, Mama Beck.
Yeah.
And when she bought that building, she always intended it to be an art space. And she, when she sold it to, help me out with her name.
Moxley is the one.
Yeah, Alice Moxley. Alice said that she was going to keep it an art space, but part of what Alice's thing was, she was a real estate agent, and when things happened, she decided she couldn't keep the building anymore.
Buy low, sell high.
That's it. So Becky is bereft.
Yeah,
she really is bereft about and she came to the meetings in town and things like that, and she's. Yeah.
One of the, I encourage anyone listening, we did a great episode called 40 Years of the Skeptics with Andy McCutcheon and Steve Blickenstaff. We also did a great recording on the history of Frederick, Maryland's underground music scene, and Andy was part of that. Andy is Becky's nephew, and that whole family, the McCutcheon family, had a huge impact on Frederick. I mean, the Apple Barons and stuff like that. But to see that Becky recognized the value of art in, Andy's life and in, her kids' life, and could see that was something that she wanted for an entire community. So, I thought it was great.
And gave free reign.
Yes.
I mean, I remember meeting her and thinking, what are the parameters going to be?
Yeah, no.
Really just treated us as her inspiration, and it went both ways, but we pushed boundaries for sure. And there was never any pushback. There was never any, she would come up sometimes and have her hands behind her back and just take it in and not say much, but we were given free reign to just express whatever was going through our, addled sometimes brains, and it was wonderful.
I got a couple of bitching sessions from her in my life.
Yeah,
including the last time that she at the 2018 Blue Elephant party. She's like, "You should have done blah 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 blah." And I'm thinking to myself, I haven't seen you in a decade,
But she let it go. She let it happen.
She reminded me of Michael Knoll. Nick and I, we did the only live stream through COVID at the Apollo Theater, and he bitched me out too. And I'm like looking at him like, Nick bitches me out, but that's okay.
Yeah, we pushed boundaries, but, for sure.
No, Nick hasn't bitched at me in a while, thank God.
Yeah, she was lovely. She is lovely.
Yeah, she's a wonderful
lovely.
woman.
Yeah. So, Yeah, that
and
was,
never really put herself in the spotlight. Like,
no,
she didn't. It was never.
Never,
She.
no.
This
never.
was something that she wanted to see,
Mhm.
and just let us kind of take the reins. Like, what a gift! Every community should be so
Yes.
lucky to have anyone willing to just foot the bill, provide the space, and let us just do the artist thing, the writer thing, and what a gift!
That's
Absolute
true.
wonder of her.
When you, Ananda, when you look at downtown Frederick, what do you see now compared to when you left and,
So I was in Canada for 8 years. I just came back in 23. And in those 10 years, it is a different place altogether,
yes.
for the better in a lot of ways. Diversity is amazing. I love that
Yes.
so much. My kids went to, Frederick High and couldn't believe the diversity. Wonderful and really good energy. And sometimes gentrification comes along with that. And it's hard to separate, for sure. Up in Toronto, the same thing's happening. Any city, New York, Greenwich. I mean, we all have these. The thing that I said earlier, where the thing that makes the city appealing, the thing that makes the town both gritty and exciting and beautiful, and people come from other places, and then with money, and then the artists have to move out, and then it becomes a corporate town. It becomes a sad nowhereville with more restaurants, and the art just hangs inside the restaurants. They're not, and then we wonder what happened. Frederick is so picturesque. It is, in the last couple of years, it's hit the top 20, top 10 most beautiful small towns in America. It's not so small. But I love what's happened, but we don't know how to hold and to keep things.
Right.
We don't know how to keep the sacred things sacred. We move into profane really quickly. And I'm really afraid that it's going to become this washed out, the thing that makes it beautiful. We can't price it out. You
Right.
can't do
Yeah,
that.
no.
It's not okay. And the best places need to have a little bit of grit. I know it was rough. I lived in Walkersville, so I know Frederick from 1979, 1980. You can't get rid of the grit. It doesn't. You have to have. And the Blue Elephant is at that end of town where people might stop walking. If it's a festival, people might stop walking before they get there. When we had the Blue Elephant going, they kept walking. They knew to keep walking. They stopped
Right.
at 7th Street. People are going to stop walking. And then you're going to have, just like this new restaurant that went up, that were lines around the building. We don't have to be other places. We can be. So there's both beautiful things. I love the new diversity. I love that. But you can see the marketing. You can see the kind of commercializing of art instead of art being the thing. We're seeing how we can make money off of it. It's getting slick. It's not gritty and grimy anymore. It's getting slick. And that's okay. I hope it'll return. But there's heartbreak there, too.
The thing for us, too, when we always wished for a place up at our end of the street that could be like a restaurant or something that would hold so that people could come up to our side of town.
Right.
Now that it's there, the sales in our gallery have gone up because of Ekibon.
Yeah.
I hope I'm pronouncing
Yeah.
that right. Yeah. Right across the street. So we, are at the tail end. We're like, oh, darn. Like,
They just got it wrong. The order's wrong.
The order's wrong.
Yeah, you don't pull people in and then throw up condos for them to see what?
Exactly.
They bought the condos because there's this vibrant scene, and Frederick is so special with its art. I don't know other places that have that kind of downtown art scene. It's yeah.
One of the things, like, I think of with Frederick and the arts is okay. And with Blue Elephant, we had 2 reviews in the Washington Post. We're 45 minutes out of the city. It meant, as Frederick artists, we were as
deal.
strong as and competed in. And that's what I fear gets lost in this scenario is who represents Frederick now, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
you're just a venue. You're just a wall to hang on. You're just a stage to play. Your artists aren't there saying, I'm as good as, right? And, I think about how you're describing how much that section of town has changed, and that's so accurate, I left Frederick in 2003, and to go back now, it's like a whole nother, And I think to lose that, the organic, like Brian was born and raised in Frederick. Kevin was born and raised in their art is
Right on.
Frederick, know. So that's what you want as in your arts community, you want to be represented. So, I think that's one of the things. I understand your concerns with that being lost. I definitely think that's a distinct. Yeah.
I mean, Artspiration is trying
Right.
to establish, to have studio space there.
Mhm.
It's out of some artists' price range, so they're going to get artists, but they're going to be of a certain age because they're going to be the retired people who can, throw down
How
some
old
bucks.
was Winnie when at the studio? She was like
18.
No, when we started, how old was Winnie?
18. Was she 17?
No, she was younger than that.
Was she still?
She was somewhere around 14, 15,
And-
I think, when she started.
Okay.
And she could afford it. Do you know
Right.
what I mean? Like, that was...
Right.
Right.
And her art was... What a brilliant human being. What a magical...
Yep.
Her and Gimmel.
Yes.
The most magic children.
Yes.
Like storybook children.
Yes.
A story that hasn't been written yet, but should. Without... Who could afford that now?
Right.
Right.
All ages we had coming
Yes.
through and showing up. You cannot
We
price
had-
artist out. It's the worst thing you can do.
In those 5 years, my first 5 years with Blue Elephant, one of the things that was incredibly important for me was our relationships with other academic environments, right? Like,
Right.
we went to Shepherd. Mike was Mendez, Michael Mendez, who's a professor at Shepherd.
Right.
He was an original member of Blue Elephant. Him and I shared a studio when we first started, and so that that was important. We sent out proposals to all the local community colleges. We did shows
That pop
there.
show was one of the best shows
Yeah.
I've ever
Right.
Yep.
seen in
Yep.
my life at FCC.
FCC.
Brilliant.
We did. I remember a really cool show we were part of at Rockville Art Place
Yeah.
too. I remember going there, and that for me was bragging rights. I'd always wanted to exhibit at Rockville Art Place.
And then also the unfiltered shows.
yes,
So good.
Those
Yes.
are really important.
So
I
huge
mean,
important.
community builders.
So important.
My daughter had sold her first piece at the unfiltered show.
It was a wonder.
It was
yeah.
And when DC people came down to our shows, here's the thing about small towns is you don't want them to become something else. And the way that people would come from DC, we had somebody come from New York once, and they were so excited because you want to discover that small town. You don't want, like everyone's in the big city, everyone's competing, but for them to come, there's people in DC who were like, Frederick is where? And they
Right.
would come down and just freak out that we had people who had been to art school, but even people who just had their own viewpoint that was ours, uniquely ours, based on where we were from. It was so exciting to find this small town with these radical, strange, experienced, like, it was so exciting. And that can get lost if you... We had that thing, we had that factor, that we were that it was beautiful.
One of the things, like with any cooperative environment, is you really get a mix of different colleges, right? Like when Blue Elephant started, Mike was coming from the University of Colorado.
Yeah.
Slagle was coming from
SCAD, yeah.
Savannah. I'm coming from Shepherd. Jason was going to Maryland Institute
Yeah.
College of Art. So, and
Chris was from Jersey, and yeah.
Sarah, she had went to, I think it was called Dickinson.
Sergeant Sarah, yep, she went to Dickinson.
Dickinson. I loved Sarah. She
Sergeant
was, you know,
Sarah's the
bring-
best. I
bring
just saw
up,
her recently, yeah.
Sarah. I remember I'd get these strange calls, like, late at night, because she would get creeped out being up at the Blue Elephant doing her studio. So I'd go up there and just sit up there, like, come on, man,
Best
but
times.
yeah,
We were family
but
to each
she,
other.
She would get, she would get creeped out by it, which I can understand, being up there by yourself late at night. It can be a little.
And she's a
haunted.
military girl. She's Sergeant Sarah. I would call her for protection.
I was happy. I loved seeing her at the she stopped over the thing we did for Jason. That was really
Yeah,
nice
that was
too.
beautiful to see her there.
Yeah. So Andrea, let me ask. So right now, the places that are the most exciting art venues in Frederick. If someone wants to make a day trip, what are you recommending?
Well, I would recommend the Blue Elephant still.
Noma's still open.
Noma's
Tag is still open.
Tag
So
is
see them while
open.
you can.
Yep, see them while
See
you
'em
can.
while you can.
The Delaplane is open. FCC. Hood College has a small gallery. I'm sure I'm gonna miss somebody and then be embarrassed. But yeah, there's still
still a lot.
still alive, and we're still alive and kicking. see us while you can. Come to the shows, support.
And Noma, you guys are on Facebook. You have a Facebook
Yeah, we're
page.
on Facebook.
Any other social media?
We're on Insta. We're on all the socials. We have a really good group. Shows change first Saturday of every month. There's always a party. Come and support.
What's the is it called New Blue Elephant? The one where they with Tony. What is he doing? Tony Mel.
Tony Mel, and they're doing a New Blue Elephant and Friday mornings is an informal scene. You can come down and have coffee
At the Blue Elephant.
At the Blue Elephant.
4A West 5th Street,
Yep.
Frederick, Maryland,
Fairland,
just
Maryland,
off of
just
Market.
off of Market. In the middle room in the back, you can come through the gallery if
Yep.
we're open. And
Was it Bruce? Was that the artist's name that
Bruce.
lived down
Aw.
there? Yes.
Bruce.
Do you remember when Bruce had never heard of wasabi and he thought it was guacamole? And was so sure that someone had attacked him when he came up for air? Kept accusing one of us of punching him in the face. You're like, you put a whole bunch on that chip. Yeah, I love Bruce.
Yes,
He was
yes,
downstairs, Bruce.
There were some character. We had
What a
some
like,
people.
I feel guilt that I didn't document and do something with it, because I would read the story of us.
Books, of photographs,
It was
all
a
in
scene,
storage
man.
in
It
here.
was a beautiful scene.
One of the things I wanted to do, and this goes out to my friend Christian Boldock, right? This young, I don't have many young friends, but he's 21, and I started making fun of Bob Ross, and he got
Dare
upset
you.
with me and he, what do you know about art? So I thought I would show a couple of pieces of my artwork. Again, this is like talking about a past life. My work at Blue Elephant was wet photography. I've always considered myself a wet photographer. And of course, like analog photography, just like analog film, is gone, right? Like I
Right.
lost my entire fucking medium. But the work I was doing at Blue Elephant, and for me with my photography, I always look at like an evolution. I shared with Nick, like the opening day of Blue Elephant, I had a photo documentary open at Tag, and then I had my experimental work at Blue Elephant. But I got into physically collaging a photographic negative, right? Reconstructing reality. You want to put the camera on the first piece. This one I did. I shot this at Blue Elephant. It was a friend of mine, former student. Her name is Erin Williams. She went on to become a successful commercial photographer in New York City, and she's done a lot of fashion work. But I wanted to do her as this rose, cut it all up. I did a bunch like this, and then I'm gonna pull this one down and show one more. Excuse me.
Oh, I remember that one.
Yeah, it's always been one of my favorites. This one was from 2003. We did a show at Shepherd University. We were part of Contemporary American Theater Festival. This one got reviewed in the Washington Post as well. And each one of us had to take a play and base our artwork on the play. And I had this surrealist play called Horse, which was about this Central American general who had ordered the rape, torture, and murder of some Catholic nuns and a lay worker in Latin America. And I've always loved this piece. It's all done. There's no CGI. I don't fuck around with computers. If you know me now, you know I live like the Unabomber. I lived like the Unabomber back then too. But I did like my cameras.
Can validate.
No, it's really exciting to look at those. They're relics to me now. They're I would say 2003. Probably 2002 with the earlier image.
And we were all each other's biggest fans. That was the most
Yes.
amazing thing. My favorite piece of yours, the box show, where we had, and that was, I talk about that show everywhere I go. That was, and can I just really quickly, so
No, we're not.
we had to do a
take
group
time.
show, and we were so different. We all had such different viewpoints. We each had different ways of approaching art and seeing art and creating it. And I was the writer, I was the documenter, and the one show I did, I just had an upside down burnt American flag and wrote my kind of political lefty missives on the walls and poetry and prose. But we all had different kind of takes, and for that show, We couldn't figure out how to, Joe, we had lots of conversations. We couldn't figure out how to make it cohesive. So we got boxes, cut holes in the boxes, and then made art inside the boxes. And we could do whatever we wanted. And then we suspended the boxes from the ceiling together. And that was the most intimate show where you had to stick your head into the box.
Yeah,
Yes.
the pictures
And you
of
were,
the show are great. Like,
what
yeah,
a thing.
Yeah.
It was so intimate.
Yeah,
Do you remember
yeah.
that Chris? And I got to shout out Chris because she's such a vibrant part of the Blue Elephant for me.
Charbonneau, is that
Chris
how you
Charbonneau.
Charbonneau?
Chris Charbonneau, perfect human being. She did, and this was before the vagina monologues, she did a vagina inside of her box, and she used like epoxy and you know, had like hair in there, and you had to stick your head in that box. Literal, and you know, and read what it was like to have one and what it was like to experience life owning a vagina and the trauma of it and the joy of it. And this was before the vagina monologues, and when those came out, I was like, was she listening in? Was Events there listening in? And we had discussions at the Blue Elephant where we talked about with the guy, I was all kind of co-ed, where we were like, what's it like to have one? What are some names that we have for it? And we were talking about these kind of really important social issues way ahead. And at that show, your box, we sat down on the floor because it was a small gallery, watching people react. It was like they would stick their head in this experience and be intimate with our art. And then watching them come out with the looks on their faces, they were experiencing art in this intimate, visceral. That was such a special show. Yours, I kept my head in there for a while. Somebody would tap me and be like, next. And Chris's box, we saw a couple divorces happen at that night because men would stick their head in that box and be like, it's hot, it's sweaty, I don't want to be in here. And we'd be like, your wife is so dissatisfied, pal. And we knew that things were, but it was this intimate show, and yours was the flashing resist. Jason's was the fish chasing the big fish, chasing the little fish. Those kind of shows transform people's thought processes, and people would say that. That conversation box, didn't somebody have one where you wrote on a Post-it note and put it inside? Somebody had lactating breast inside, Lisa. And each box was this whole world of somebody's.
Right.
And the feedback we got from that show, I've had people I've run into 20 years later that was like, did I dream that? Did I imagine that? And that's the kind of thing that you can't let go. You
Right
can't.
on.
It makes no sense to me that at the same time that Frederick's growing, you get rid of the. Anyway, that was one of my favorite pieces of yours. It was beautiful.
Thank you. I'll share a couple of memories too, like, and we can take a few minutes. I remember we got this opportunity to go and see Doug and Mike Starn, right? The Starnes twins. I'm a huge Starnes twins fan, like big, and when it comes, I will bogart you. I will climb over top of you and kick you in the face to get their autograph. So I made sure and I remember they were complaining, like, you're not even from our school, because it was the Corcoran who put it on. Yeah, I was teaching at
You don't go to
Shepherd,
our
but
school.
I don't care. I'll put an elbow in you. I won my picture with Doug and Mike. I'm first. So, no, it was, being an artist and having those, like, obsessions, right? Like an artist had, like you mentioned, the
Love an
beats.
obsession.
My obsession was always Burroughs, right? The collage, like collage.
I have a
still
picture I couldn't
collage.
find where we named each of the beats we were, and your name was on the Burroughs picture.
I
Yeah,
always, love
Yeah.
Burroughs.
and a bit Herbert Hunky too.
Oh, I'll accept that.
Yeah.
I remember this one time. There was this couple. I totally digress, but I will, because it'll bring us to a good closing. There was this couple that lived across the street, and for whatever reason, they got into public affection, right? Like they would, and they would make sure their window was open, and like
Look out, Woody,
so.
hi.
It was Jason, I think, the first one that noticed before you know, like there's a huge audience every night at midnight, like watching the show across the street. But if you don't mind, Nick, let's bring up our last graphic. And I wanted to, close with some reflections on this amazing guy. His name was Jason Swafford. I still do. Like, I was older than him, but he was the best bigger brother, the best older brother I ever had. And I compliment Nick's the same way, the older brother I never had. I loved Jason. I thought he was just... this, the laughter and humor, but just a really steady voice in Blue Elephant. You know what I mean? Like, for what we should do, how we should be. Yeah, I thought he did some incredible stuff. I loved his artwork, personality, everything about him. What would you like to
That's so
say,
hard to
Linda?
talk about
Please.
him. I miss him more every day. Yeah, he's perfect. He was
Yeah.
somehow, almost in spite of his overwhelming beauty, he was also perfect in every way. And we were all in love with each other, but him,
Yep.
he was sunshine, and he was all of our dream. He was just the most perfect human being, and the most loving, warm, supportive. He was my best friend. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know how I'm meant to live without him. He asked me before he passed, and I didn't know. I think it was a shock to all of us. But he asked me to make videos or to tell his boys who he was, and I'm in the process of making videos for them. And I never run out of things to say. He was a legend. It's hard for me to believe that when he left this earth, that fireworks didn't go off somewhere, because he was just larger than life and perfect. And his show, Three Walls, was every place I've ever moved since. I've tried to recreate that feeling of warmth and beauty, and he's a perfect human being and loved you like nobody else done. Like, there were times when it was rough, you were rough, but that man just loved everybody in his own way and saw everybody. And I'm not exaggerating when I say that I really think he was a genius. I would sit up there and he made shows. He was obsessed. He taught me about the golden mean and Fibonacci sequence. And I'm not that Barbie. I'm literature Barbie. I'm beatnik Barbie. I'm not Fibonacci sequence Barbie. And I stayed up till 4 a.m. I had to work the next day. I think I was one of the only ones up there for a while that had a full-time gig, but I knew I had to work. But listening to that genius, and we had this conversation once about Allen Ginsberg, and he did this show where he talked about getting naked, and somebody from the audience started heckling him and said, "But you never really get naked, like you're just saying it." And Allen Ginsberg takes off his clothes to make the point, and Jason and I were talking about that, and he was like, this place, we're all naked all the time. We were so vulnerable with each other and so loving and gentle and kind and supportive of each other. And we just came from all these different places, but formed this found family that is the best family I have experienced. And I will carry him with me. I have the tattoo, like I'm going to carry him with me forever. Without him. And when he kind of left, the cracks started to show. He was glue. He was magic.
Yes.
He is magic. Just, live forever in all of our memories.
Anything you want to say, Andrea?
I'm a little choked up here.
He's perfect.
You know, he
should be here.
Yeah, he should be here.
Yeah.
And, he was, you can walk in the Blue Elephant today and see him. That's what I would like to say. He's there. His imprint, what he made with his hands, what he conjured up in his mind is still there. And I think all of us have a caper to come in taking some of what we need.
I remember we would do these incredible camping trips. Like that was the one thing every year we would go.
So good.
We started going to Sleepy Creek here in West Virginia. Anytime I go out there, but I remember out there, screaming for him, Jason.
Jason.
I got to talk to him when we were organizing for the 20th anniversary. It was the first time I'd talked to him in an incredibly long period of time. The cancer was in remission at that point, and just to hear his laugh again was great.
He was that till the end, I think. Well, till the last time.
Yeah.
When my husband died, it was 6 months before, and Jason texted me immediately and said, "Come home. I'm going to build a place for you and your kids." This was right before, and I didn't know he was sick. That man made a plan to bring my family back, to become our family again. And then texted me, because I've been death doula, and he texted me and said, "Hey, tell me about this." And I called him, and I was like, "Why? What's going on?" "Nothing, I'm fine. Everything's fine." And then it was Chris Sharpen, or somebody told me, and we were all like, "What? This cannot be." I don't know why he didn't want us to know, but we have to carry him forward. Like, we can't. He's not going to die on my watch. It's not going to happen.
No.
His boys are going to know, and if they have kids, they're going to know, because that man's a legend.
I haven't cried since 2018. to put this, and that was the Blue Elephant. I cried in public then.
It means so much.
Oh,
to
I
us.
hate crying, but it
No,
lets you
it's
know that
good.
you love.
Yeah.
Yes.
We were there. We were Kilroy.
It was a great time. That was heavy. Thank everyone for tuning in. While you can, check out the Blue Elephant Art Center. Let's see where this thing goes.
Yes.
The arts have been a huge. I'm a lucky man to have been an artist in Frederick, Maryland. I mean, I picked Frederick, moved over in 1990 after Shepherd. I got really involved with helping to open early art environments, eventually with Blue Elephant. And, to have been part of something that has gone on for so long is just really an incredible, it's exciting. It's a great honor. So I'm glad we did something right,
So much right. It was
So
all right.
much right. It
It
was
was all
all
right, man. It was all right. It was so good.
This has been wonderful. And hopefully we have more conversations like this as this thing moves forward, and we're able to recognize the artists who helped to establish Frederick's art scene.
Right.
And
have so
hopefully
many stories.
the city will give you guys what you need to continue to offer a prosperous, vibrant, and living and independent arts community.
Yeah, we're strong people. We're strong.
Yeah. All right, everybody. We're recording again on Thursday. I won't be crying, I promise you.
You'll cry.
No, I won't
Watch.
cry. So check out our episodes with Andy McCutcheon and Blickenstaff, 40 Years of the Skeptics. I also recommend, we did one with the Voodoo Love Gods. They go back to the 80s in Frederick. And we did a very special recording with Frederick County Library on the history of Frederick's underground music's circa 1980s. I'd love to see something like that about art in the 90s.
That would be cool.
So, yeah.
We'll conjure that.
Yeah, definitely. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope everyone follows the Blue Elephant on Facebook. See where this journey goes. While you have the time, please go see this space. You've got until December. So
Right on.
that's it. Unless. Miracle. Yeah, miracle.
Riots, miracles, whatever it takes.
The revolution continues.
Absolutely. There's always possibilities.
The apocalypse happens.
Listen, you can drink Molotov. You can drink cocktails or make Molotov ones. You have choices to make.
That's funny. Yeah, this has been wonderful. Thank you, guys.
I love you, kids.
I love you too. You can go ahead and close this out, Nick. I love you too, Nick.